All right, Batman 1. Let's take a look at Batman 1. Again, we had the Batman 1 sell for earlier today. We saw this one here. Batman 1 in a 3.5 went for $228,000. Now, the prior Batman 1 in a 3.5 sold for a little bit more than that. And this is something, I've talked about a few times on the channel. The Batman 1 has sold so much in these last few years. And it's surprising how much it's sold, because it's an amazing book. I mean, 145 universal copies, 302 total graded. So as far as Golden Age census, I mean, that's higher on the Golden Age side of things, albeit not very high on the, compared to, say, Silver Age or something like that. But the amount of times this book has gone up for sale is so surprising, and it's been my speculation that I think a lot of dealers bought into these books. I mean, I think a lot of dealers always buy into books, and anytime a dealer buys into a book, they're going to look to flip it. So you have to have a certain point where a lot of books are in the hands of collectors or holders who are going to keep it for a long time for it to really, have the prices to settle and for the prices to eventually, appreciate. And I just have a feeling that when prices were going crazy, a lot of these books went up for sale for people to get their money out, and a lot of dealers bought them, and it was a hot book to have. I mean, it looks great on your wall, if you're selling at cons, fantastic book to have there. So it's a wonderful advertisement for your booth. And I think that, there's just been a lot of people turning it over and stuff. So, this 3.5 went for sale, 228,000 here. The last 3.5, I think I pulled it up, or I think I saw it earlier before the stream right here. Yeah. So back in 2021, a year ago, this was 264. So, we're talking a little bit of a, let's clean up the sideburns on asking my barber to sort of clean up, just give me a little edge. Just give me a little edge down here, although this one was kind of an uglier copy. Spine splits all up in here, which, by the way, I mean, guys, 3.5 with the spine splits. Come on, man. I have spine splits on my books and I get 1.0s on stuff. So what's up with that? This Batman 1 favoritism. But yeah, this one right here is selling for a little bit more. So this 3.5 that just went for a little bit less. And I think that has to do with, again, there was just so many people selling Batman 1s that, on the demand side has probably been affected too, where since they have been coming up so often, like people who have the money and want them have had the ability to buy them. But this 1.8 sale, I think, was probably a pretty decent price, considering some of the prior sales. I would just guess 114 here in June. So that was 114,000. Yeah. And then this one went for, what did we say? 138. So a really, really strong sale for the low end. And this could be kind of what we were talking about earlier with, it's like that entry level price versus like the 3.5 price, where it's like you're well into the book at that point, as far as like a buy-in price. And the entry level price is, again, not going to be a perfect point per grade thing, because people just want it. They just want to get it. So at this level, it's like, did they overspend by like 10 or 15 grand? Yes. But at that level, it's like, well, screw it. I just want it. I want it now, and so they just bought it. So, and yeah, and here's a great point. And then Tim, Batman 135 has detached cover with exception of bottom front stable. So, and this is another great point too. Again, we're talking about these books. We're trying to rationalize. We're trying to talk about prices. But again, there's so many factors that can affect one sale to the next, right? And in this market, I think people are just more discerning. I think this is true even of Golden Age stuff, right? Where it's like when everything is really crazy and there's hype and there's, free money going on, people they just get it. They're more aggressive. And now it's sort of like you can be discerning. So if you're somebody who's spending, this type of money on a book and you're like, I don't like that it's a detached cover, I don't really care. And so, yeah, that book can totally sell for less than what the prior sale was, right? Because people are discerning. They care a lot about this stuff. And It really just depends on the book. Really just depends. With Batman 1, because there's been so many, you have options, relatively speaking. Uh, and the thing is this: if you have money, if you have money to spend, and you call up Vincent Zerzolo from Comic Connect, and you probably have his number, and you're just like, "Yo, Vince, I want to buy a Batman 1." Like, he'll make that happen for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just money to get that book, even though it's rare. Now, earlier in the day, we had Captain America Comics #1 in a 2.0 grade sell for $114,000. Pretty respectable 2.0. A really nice 2.0, I would say. A really nice 2.0. Great colors on this one. Entry level copy. I mean, this is a great looking 2.0. Now, Captain America hasn't always been as desired as some of the, say, Supermans and the Batmans and all that sort of stuff. Like, this book hasn't quite, hit those sort of like same level of returns year over year. But I think it's getting there a little bit. But there's been a lot of turnover, and you can see this 3.5 was the last sale at 168,000. This one for 114, I think, is probably a respectable sale for this. Let's see if I can kind of just do some quick napkin math. So a 3.0 went for 144. Probably been a little while since the 2.0 went up for sale. Just getting in the club price. Yeah, we go back to like 2020 and stuff. So $90,000 in 2020. This one selling for 114 seems like, very, very kind of sign of the comic book market, right? Sign of the comic book market, about a 10% increase in value over the course of that 2020 price to where we are now. So yeah, a very, very respectable sale. Let's talk about this one right here, because it was pretty interesting. Avengers 4, CGC 9.8, white pages. I mean, a perfect copy of this book. Well, 9.8's gonna have spine ticks, right? We've determined this, guys. 9.8's gonna have spine ticks. It's fine. It's fine. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful copy of this book right here. Selling for 132,000. Now, one of the interesting things about this is that, some of these books, not all of them get, always returns, right? Not all of them do perfect year over year returns on this stuff. Sometimes it's random. And so this right here, we saw the last time a 9.8 of this book sold was actually back in 2017 on Heritage Auctions. And it was an off-white to white pages book, went for 143,000. So, imagine you're somebody who bought this book, 143,000. You're at the investment grade level, you're at the top 2.2% for this book. And then the next sale happens 6 years later, and it sells for less at 132. So this is where, it's one of those things again, these markets aren't perfect, and not every book is always going to be, the great investment book or whatever the case is. Now, this one's a little bit different. It's Avengers 4. It's a really cool book. One of my favorite sort of Silver Age books, but I love Cap. But again, it's not his actual first appearance. It's his first Silver Age. And then you have a lot of competition because it's, you have people who might prefer Captain America Comics #1. I mean, for this amount of money, you could get Cap Comics #1 in a 2.0, as we established in this auction. So this is really for that person who has to have the best of the best. Like, you need the 9.8 white pages, So this book taking a little bit of a haircut, and not necessarily a book that at this level had a tremendous return on investment. All right. And the last book that we have to talk about is Soup 1, guys. Soup 1. We're about to enter Superman territory, and we have another Superman 1 in a restored 5.0 going up for sale. So we're going to do the this or that comparison once again for that book. But we have to talk about this one because, again, much like Batman 1, we've been talking about it kind of a lot. The Batman one's going up for sale a lot. And we've almost seen as many Superman ones going up for sale. Now, Superman 1 isn't as common as Batman 1, but it is more common when we're talking about Golden Age census, right? So 74 universal and then 177 total graded. So there's actually a decent amount of non-blue label copies. But there's not so many blue labels. I mean, 74, that's pretty rare. But this one was interesting here because it was a white pager, nice looking 1.5. I mean, what else can you expect? There's some stain down here, but I mean, that wouldn't personally bother me too much, right? Back cover looks great. It's probably has some spine splitting on this book, would be probably why, it's at that 1.5 range. But this one sold for a pretty decent premium at 174, considering the last sale was not too long ago, a 1.5 selling just last month for 132. So this book right here selling for $40,000 more in just a month. Now, again, this is where you really start to like this or that. And there's a lot of factors that come into it. You can see down here, spine splitting. You actually can see the chipping going on here, the stainage down here. And this is a cream to off-white pages book, whereas this one is a white pages book. And while there is probably a spine split, you don't actually see, the cover chipping on it, although you do have these tears over here. So, this is where it's like it gets very, very imperfect, right? In predicting some of these low end sales, but I would say that was a really, really strong number for Superman, at the 1.5 level. And I think that probably is going to be close to the record. I mean, all the way back here in 2022, you had a 1.5 sell for nearly $200,000. And I would say that this is a much worse looking copy, right? You see the edges right there. You see the stains right here. It's cream to off-white, and you got 200,000. So any given sale, any given day, what people want, with Superman 1, right? And it could go high, it could go low, who's in the market for it at the time, but an all-time great book, love me some early Superman 1s. So kind of cool to see it, but those were the big, big sales earlier in the day for heritage auctions that happened. And some winners, some losers in those. I say losers, but again, there are no losers in this certain market. Like if you can afford to buy any of these books, you're absolutely winning. But some ones that went for a little bit less than you might think, some ones that went for a little higher than you might think, but nothing super drastic, nothing too crazy. And I would say that is, it feels like, again, we talk a lot about the market stuff, feels like we're finding that floor, especially at these high-end, rare, desired collectibles. I think in some of the other key sort of silver and bronze age stuff, there's still some fluff to be sort of worked out. But strong sales, even in this current market. I mean, we'll see. We'll always keep our eyes on some of these auctions, and it's always fun to kind of follow them and see what things end up selling for. Doggo Haas in the house.